Hello everyone, welcome to the webinar on Anoplophora glabripennis of the Group 2 EU Priority Pests. As you might know, since last year, we have provided 3 webinars on the EFSA Plant Pest Survey Methodological Framework and the toolkit, including the repest and the optipest, and 4 webinars of the Group 1 fruit flies Trephididae. If you did not attend the previous webinars and you would like to know more about them, the recorded presentations are available on EFSA's YouTube channel and on the EU Academy website. This is the second webinar of a round of 3, and today's presentations will refer especially to the pest Anoplophora glabripennis. Lastly, for the new attendees, as a reminder, since the microphones are mute, the Q&A chat is enabled for you to ask any questions that may come up while the experts are presenting. Before we start, I would like to introduce some housekeeping rules. You are automatically connected to the audio broadcast, one-way audio, listening only mode, so you cannot speak. This event is in English. Questions should be submitted in English via Q&A chat. If some questions remain unanswered, you can resubmit them via email. This event is being recorded, and recordings will be published on EFSA's official YouTube channel and in the EU Academy. We will send all the information after the webinar. After this event, you will be requested to evaluate EFSA's event filling out a Microsoft survey. Now, as you can see in your screen, this is the agenda for today. So we are now in a small introduction. And after the introduction, we will give the floor to the 2 experts that are with us today, Juan and Alessandro. And then we will do a short quiz to see how you understood the presentation. And around 11, we will end the webinar. So now, who we are? Today with us is Juan Navas. He is a member of EFSA Pest Survey Methods Working Group and a research scientist at the Institute for Sustainable Agriculture for the Spanish National Research. And also with us is Alessandro Bianchi. He is the coordinator for surveillance and outbreak control of quarantine pests at the Plant Health Service in the Lombardy region. My name is Jose Ovejas, and I'm a journalist, and I will be the moderator of this webinar. So now, who is in the room? We would like to invite you all to participate in the poll to know who is in the room. Please proceed to search in your browser www.menti.com while with your mobile phone or laptop. Okay, so as you can see in your screen, the code, if you are using your browser for www.menti.com, the code is 85318435. Okay, now is the time to use it. So I see some of you are already answering. Just for those that maybe arrive late, you have to type www.menti.com in your browser and use the code 85318435 that you can see in the top of the slide. So as we can see, most of you are from the National Plant Protection Organization at central level and regional level. We also have some support laboratory diagnostics and risk manager involved in related decisions. As I said before, it's important for you to know how to use Mentimeter because we will use it at the end of the presentation to see if you understood what our experts are gonna introduce today. Okay, so before we continue with the presentation, I would like to introduce you a short video regarding project activities.
This initiative provides technical and scientific support on plant pest surveillance for improving crisis preparedness in plant health. The European Food Safety Authority is the reference body for risk assessment of food and feed in the European Union, and its work covers the entire food chain, from field to fork. The target audience of this initiative is both in the 27 European member states and the third countries. The inspection services of national, regional, or local authorities competent for the planning and execution of the pest surveillance, the services that support the inspection with laboratory diagnostics, the risk managers that are involved in decisions related to the planning of surveillance activities, and manage the contingency plans for crisis preparedness in case of outbreaks of regulated pests. 3 webinars have already been provided. Webinar 1 on the Plant Pest Survey Methodological Framework, Webinar 2 on the Pest Survey Toolkit, RIPEST, Webinar 3 on the Multi-Pest Survey Optimization, OptiPest. The recordings are available in the EFSA official YouTube channel and in the EU Academy platform. Starting from March 2025, we are providing specific webinars for the preparation and design of detection surveys for the 20 EU priority pests that are listed in the annex of the Commission Delegated Regulation 1702 of 2019, and a specific e-learning course that will provide the participant with an overview of the methodology for preparing, designing, implementing and reporting of surveys of Union quarantine pests using the tools developed by EFSA. The e-learning course will be available online, and individual modules won't require the user's attention for more than 30 minutes. The course will be interactive and consider a good balance between theory and practical exercises, as well as a final certificate of attendance at the finalization of all modules. After participation, any attendant will be able to prepare, design, execute, and conclude the detection, delimiting, and buffer zone surveys using the methodological framework and tools developed by EFSA. Send your application or contact us to receive more information to.
So now is the time to give the floor to our 2 experts. So Alessandro, Juan, the floor is yours.
Thank you.
Thank you. I share the presentation. So good morning, everyone. Good morning, Juan.
Good morning, Alessandro. So good morning to everybody. So Alessandro, are you ready to work in designing a survey for this pest?
Yes, of course. We could first take a look at the biology of this pest, Anoplophora glabripennis, its distribution and the main differences compared to species we discussed in previous webinars, such as Anoplophora chinensis. After that, perhaps you could guide us through the application of the EFSA methodological framework for survey design, and finally show us how to use RIPEST. Does that sound good?
Yes, sure. So, but first, let's go to know a little bit better this pest. Go ahead, Alessandro.
So, this is our pest, the Asian longar beetle, or ALB for short. As I mentioned before, it has some very specific traits that make it different from other priority pests in the European Union. Most of the information I'm using to introduce the pest comes directly from EFSA resources. So the pest survey card, which you can also access through the RIPEST app, the story map, the pest report that supports the ranking on European Union candidate priority pests, and of course the datasheet provided by EPO. Speaking about its origins, ALB is native to China and the Korean Peninsula. It was first officially detected in the United States in 1996, and since then it has spread to several states as well as into Canada. In Europe, the pest is considered transient or present under eradication, mainly in France, Germany, Italy, and Switzerland. In some member states, outbreaks have already been successfully eradicated. When it comes to bioclimatic suitability, host availability and climates are generally not limiting factors for the establishment and spread of ALB across the European Union. The only real exception is the most northern member states where the host plants aren't present. As you can see from the map, conditions are broadly suitable in much of Europe. Of course, biotic and abiotic factors can still influence how suitable an area is. For example, outbreaks are most often recorded on trees in urban environments. Now let's take a look at the EU regulatory framework. Anoplophora glabripennis is classified as a union quarantine pest and is also listed as a priority pest. This means that there are strict obligations in place, including annual surveys of the pest. According to decision 893, emergency measures had also been adopted to prevent both the introduction and the spread of the pest within the Union. As you can see here, specific regulation apply to commodities transported with wood packaging material, especially when originating from certain third country, for example, like China. Here now we can see the life cycle of ALB, which ranges from 1 to 3 years, depending on climates and food availability. In summer, adult beetles emerge from infested trees and start feeding on twigs to mature their eggs. After mating, females lay about 20 to 50 eggs under the bark. 2 to 3 weeks later, the larvae hatch and they first feed on the bark and then burrow deeper into the tree and create long tunnels in the hardwood. Depending on conditions, this larval stage may last 1 to 3 years. During the spring of the following years, the larvae pupate in chambers under the bark. After pupation, new adults emerge, starting the cycle again. Now we'll focus on ALB host plants and the main signs of infestation, which are key elements for implementing a survey. ALB is polyphagous pest. In other words, it can attack a wide range of broadleaf trees. In Europe, the most susceptible genera include Acer, Aesculus, Betula, Populus, Salix, and Ulmus. According to Commission implementing decision, surveys might be carried out on all host plants present in the survey area, with special attention to specified plants. Field trials in its native range and surveys in North America and Europe have shown that Acer species are particularly susceptible and very attractive to the beetle. The main signs to look for are the visible ones, so adults feeding damage on twigs, oviposition pits, the frass produced by the larvae, and the circular exit holes made by the adults. These are the key indicators of infestation, as you can see in the pictures.
Alessandro, sorry, I have a question for you.
Yes.
So in view of the information you presented in this slide, do you think that for a delimiting survey, we should focus on Acer as the target host for the survey?
Well, for a detection survey, it's recommended to concentrate on maples if they are present in the area, since they are highly attractive. However, for a delimiting survey, all host plants in the area should be inspected with particular focus on the 6 most susceptible genera mentioned above before.
Yes, clear. So another point. So how can we make sure that we are correctly identify the ALB pest when similar species could be also present in the environment?
Yes, in this slide, we can see the main differences between ALB and Anoplophora chinensis, CLB for short. Morphologically, CLB has a granular detection on the elytra, white hair spots on the pronotum, and sometimes a whitish scutellum, as you can see in the picture. Biologically, ALB tends to infest the upper canopy, whereas CLB usually attacks the lower trunk and the exposed roots, as you can see in the pictures. And in terms of host range, in Europe, CLB is more polyphagous compared to ALB.
Thank you, Alessandro. Very clear. So I think these traits are essential for the correct identification of the pest and then for the survey design. Thank you.
Yes. Now we can focus on damage caused by Anoplophora glabripennis. On trees, we find the typical round exit goals and extensive larval galleries in the woods. All of this leads to dieback and eventually tree deaths. Economically and socially, the impact is also significant. There are high costs for tree removal, replacement, and the monitoring. Quarantine measure and trade restriction can disrupt businesses, while property values and the amenity of urban areas may decline. And finally, there are also environmental impacts. Loss of canopy reduces carbon storage and increases urban heat, while habitat degradation negatively affects biodiversity. Another important key aspect for design and a survey strategy is the identification of the pathways of introduction. The main entry pathway in the European Union is untreated wood packaging material, especially with imports of stone or tiles from East Asia, where Anoplophora glabripennis is native. Secondary pathways include the import of roundwood and sawnwood coming from countries where the pest is present, either as native or introduced.
So, Alessandro, I have a question also. Alessandro, one common option is to use risk factor for that usually are based on the spread distance of the pest, the spread capacity of the pest. So for this pest, how far can spread in 1 year or maximum expansion? What is the maximum expansion rate in 1 year for Anoplophora glabripennis? Do we have information on that?
Yeah, well, according to an expert knowledge elicitation carried out by EFSA, the maximum distance that Anoplophora glabripennis is expected to spread in 1 year is about 93 meters. The uncertainty range is quite wide, from around 17 up to 540 meters. But in any case, this shows that natural spread is relatively limited. So Juan, could you briefly introduce the EFSA survey methodology?
Yes, please. Next slide. So I will quickly go over a few aspects of the EFSA statistical survey methodology, because have been already introduced in previous webinars. But this is the first step. The first step is to decide which type of survey we want to perform. And we have 3 different main types of pest freedom surveys: detection, delimiting, and buffer zone surveys. All of these 3 survey types share in common a common goal: to provide evidence of pest freedom in the survey area. And the EFSA methodology, including the ripest tool that we will see later, can be applied to all of them, to all 3 survey types. So first, in detection surveys, we ask if the pest is present in the survey area. So are used when the pest, or this type of surveys are used when the pest has not been previously found in the survey area, or it is not known to occur in our area. So the aim of these detection surveys is therefore to provide or to prove pest freedom, while also enabling the early possible detection of invasion and incursion in our territory. Second, the delimiting surveys, we ask how far has it spread, if already identified, and are performed immediately an infestation has been detected, essentially to map the infested area where the pest is circulating. Third, the buffer zone surveys. The question is, has it spread further? So after performing the delimiting survey, we want to know if the pest, to check whether the pest has spread beyond the infested area outside the demarcated area of the outbreak. So in this webinar for Anoplophora glabripennis, we will focus on detection surveys and to substantiate the pest freedom for this pest. Next, please. So, but we can ask, why do we need this methodological framework for surveillance? Well, it's clear that because we cannot check every single plant using a perfect test. So this is just impossible. So instead, we only can survey part of the population and then draw conclusion for the whole population for using this part of the population we can survey. So we can think in an iceberg. So we only see the tip, but most of the iceberg is hidden to us. So therefore, the statistics help us to measure how confident we can be that the whole area, so the whole iceberg, is pest-free, even if we only check a small part of this population. Next. Next. So for this approach, we have to structure our target population that for this, we have 4 different levels. At the highest level, we have the survey area, that is usually the whole member state or a part of the member state. Then within the survey area, we have the epidemiological units, and within the epidemiological units, we might be able to define risk factor for a statistically sound and risk-based survey that tell us where the pest might be more likely to occur. And finally, the lowest level is the inspection unit. That is what we inspect in the field and where we apply the different detection methods. Next. So the first level is the epidemiological unit, which is a subset of the survey area and is defined as an homogeneous area where the interactions between the pest, the host plants, and the environmental factor would result in the same epidemiology. So we will interact in the same way. So meaning that the host within the same epidemiological unit would have a similar probability of being infected by the target pest. So Alessandro, thinking in Anoplophora glabripennis, what do you think, which epidemiological units we can consider for this pest?
Yeah, I would say that we can consider 2 main epidemiological units, so natural areas and urban areas. Natural areas with the large stands of host trees carry a higher risk of spreading unnoticed. Urban areas, instead, are usually the first points of introduction due to the ornamental trees, goods movements, and human activities that facilitate dispersal.
I fully agree, Alessandro. So natural areas can serve as hidden reservoirs where the pests can remain hidden, while the urban areas are key points of the introduction due to the human movement and ornamental trees, as you said. So keeping what's on both is essential, therefore, for the early detection, and we will consider both in our survey design. So next, please. So the next level is the inspection unit. That is the elementary unit on which the detection method is applied in the field. So we can have different units depending on the pest, different inspection units. But the important thing is that it is defined, the number of inspection units define the size of the target population, meaning that the total number of the inspection units is therefore the size of the target population. Next. So the inspection unit can be different for different hosts, different pests, sorry. And as some example can be an individual tree or a group of trees, can be an individual fruit on the tree, can be, in case of an insect pest or a vector, the area covered by the trap, or in some cases can be the pest directly, the pest itself. So Alessandro, for Anoplophora glabripennis, what could be our inspection unit in the survey?
Well, I think for ALB, the inspection units is the single host tree, since that's the level where infestation signs can be consistently observed and recorded.
Okay, noted. So then we have to go to the method sensitivity. So how to detect the pest. So we need to quantify this method sensitivity that is defined as the probability to correctly identify the pest as be present in the area of it is in the inspection units. Very important is involve a sequence of methods for detecting and identifying the pest from the field to the laboratory. So therefore, it depends on two components: the sampling effectiveness related to the field and the diagnostic sensitivity related to the laboratory. Formally, the sampling effectiveness is the probability to capture the pest during an inspection, and if the pest is present in this inspection unit. But diagnostic sensitivity is the probability to detect the pest in the sample, given that the laboratory sample is truly positive. So, and therefore, the method sensitivity is the multiplication on these two values and is then defined as the probability to correctly capture and identify the pest in the inspection unit when it is present. So, Alessandro, which are the detection and diagnostic method that we can use for this pest?
Yes, yeah, we can see a scheme by EPO. So field detection mainly relies on visual inspection of host trees. Monitoring should be carried out with binoculars, and in cases of uncertain signs, tree climbers or aerial platforms may be required. According to EFSA elicitation, agreed with expert, trapping with lures has low efficacy, and sniffer dogs are not considered cost-effective, being suitable only in outbreak areas and at entry points in pest-free area. For diagnosis, morphological identification of adults and larvae is the standard method, complemented by molecular analysis, which provides a reliable confirmation, especially for frass and when specimens are immature or damaged.
Thanks, Alessandro. Yeah, it's very clear. So visual inspection remains the most practical approach, while molecular tools can provide also reliable confirmation if in those challenging cases. So therefore, combining visual field inspection with morphological identification and molecular method, so clearly strengthen the detection and diagnosis for this pest. So
Yes.
next, please. So now we move to an important component, and that is the risk factors, because we are dealing with a statistically sound risk-based surveys. So a risk factor is defined as any factor, either biotic or abiotic, that increase the probability of the pest being present in a given area. So accounting for risk allow us in general to reduce the total sample size needed to achieve the desired confidence level and design prevalence. But that is the same level of pest freedom. So we, using risk factor, we can reduce the sample size, but maintaining the pest freedom level in this survey. Next. So, but in order to know where these areas of higher risk are located in our survey area, we should first know what are the risk activities that increases the chances of pests occurring. So what are those activities that increase the risk to be to detect the pest in those areas, and then identify the risk locations where the risk activities occur, and finally the risk areas, that are the areas around the risk location where the pest may be found, and usually calculated taking into account the pest capacity of the pest that were presented in the previous slides. So please, next. So, but in order to use a risk factor, we need to know the different levels associated with the risk factor. Can be, for instance, high risk, medium risk, and always a baseline. But also the proportion of the target population to which the risk level apply. And also important, the relative risk of each risk level compared to the baseline of risk. So, Alessandro, which factor do you think we can use as risk factor for Anoplophora glabripennis?
Yes, as mentioned before, the main risk factors are clearly linked to introduction pathways. So the higher risk comes from the wood packaging material, especially at import, storage, and trade sites, as well as the surrounding natural and urban areas. A secondary but lower risk is related to the imports of host plants for planting, also bonsai, making nurseries, garden centers, and nearby green areas relevant. Okay,
clear. So now we know the meaning of the different levels to structure our target population, but it's a statistically sound design. So we need to assign values for each of the different parameters to apply this statistical framework. So this table summarizes the inputs that we need to run the RIPEST tool. Next, please. So first, we have to deal with the target population. So in this slide shows the estimated target population size for Anoplophora glabripennis in our survey. Our survey area, as in previous webinars, is an invented country that is called Surveyland, that has 78 million hectares and it's in the middle of nowhere. So we define the inspection unit, as already discussed, as an individual tree, and calculated that in this area we could have about 1.6 million non-conifer host trees in this surveyland. But how we get this value. So we used land cover data from Germany, where we know that around 33% are forest and 15% settlement or traffic areas. So we know that the tree density value is about 100 trees per hectare in forest and natural areas and 53 per hectare in urban areas. So we know the relative percentage of each EPI unit that we will use, the natural areas and the urban areas, and the tree density in both forest or natural areas and urban areas. So then the values were adjusted using the proportion of non-coniferous species that is represent in this example about 51%, since these species are non-host for Anoplophora glabripennis, and we will focus only on those that could be potential hosts for this pest. So that gives us a raw number of 5,574 million hectares for natural areas and about 585 million hectares for urban areas. We will see this data, how we can use this data in the RIPEST tool. Next, please. So now we have the inspection unit, now we have the size of the target population, and then we need to know the risk factors. Next, please. So we know that for Anoplophora glabripennis, the spread capacity is 93 meters per year, around 100 meters. So we can, according to information from the expert knowledge elicitation performed in EFSA for this pest, we can establish 3 different risk levels based on this distance that the pest can travel from entry points that has already Alessandro explained, where import and trade of good packaging material, or where the import and trade of these good packaging materials occurs. So we have these 3 risk levels from this, according to the distance from entry points. We have risk level 3, that is the highest risk, high level risk, that covers the first 100 meters from the entry point with a relative risk of 7.9, sorry, that this high risk area represents about 0.013% of the host population. Then we have the risk level 2 that represents the medium risk, that covers from the band from 100 to 500 meters with a relative risk of 5 and represents 0.314% of the total population. And then beyond the 500 meters band is the risk level 1, the baseline, and represent around 99.7% of the population, the rest of the population that is not included in the other 2 risk levels. Next, please. So we now know the risk factors and the levels, and we have to go for the sampling effectiveness, diagnostic sensitivity, that is the method sensitivity. So I need also now here your help, Alessandro. What do you think could be the values for these 2 parameters for our pest?
Yes, as mentioned before, we use the single host tree as inspection units. The estimate sampling effectiveness is 55.3% based on the EFSA expert elicitation. This relatively moderate value reflects the fact that infestations are often hidden in the canopy of the plant or in the upper parts of the tree, making them difficult to detect from the ground, or not yet producing visible external signs of the pest. The diagnostic sensitivities when using morphological identification together with the molecular analysis is about 90%, ensuring a high level of reliability in confirming suspect samples. These values are then used to calculate the overall survey sensitivity.
Thank you. So now we have almost all the information in our table. So most of the survey parameters are already included in our table, but then we need two new parameters: the design prevalence and the confidence level. Next, please. So the design prevalence is a risk manager decision. So it's defined in the ISPN 31 as the level of detection is the maximum prevalence of the pest that can go undetected in an area. So as was discussed before, we can never survey the entire population. We cannot say with 100% certainty that the pest is not present. So the only thing we can say is the maximum prevalence that the pest could reach, but still remain undetected. In general, the lower the design prevalence, the more inspection units we need to reach the desired level of confidence. In the graph in the slide, you can see in the x-axis the sample size, the sampling effort, therefore the number of inspection units we have to inspect, and in the y-axis show the confidence level achieved in the survey. For example, with 200 inspection units, the confidence level is about 50% for a design prevalence of 0.5, but increase to 75% when also design prevalence is 1%, and it is close to 100% for a design prevalence of 5%. But one practical way to think about what could be our design prevalence is to ask ourselves what is the maximum pest prevalence that could still allow eradication. But this depends obviously on the pest spread capacity and how effective our control measures are. So next slide, please. As we don't have specific information for this pest about design prevalence and confidence level, we will use in our example in this webinar a commonly used design prevalence of 1% and a confidence level of 95%. So finally, we read all the inputs we need for repest, but next, please. This summarizes the structure of our target population. We have in level 1 the survey area, the survey land. Then we have the EP units, epidemiological units, that can be defined as NAT areas or land use categories. In our case, in this example, we will use land use categories, urban areas, and natural areas. In level 3, as discussed, we will use as risk areas the import, storage, and trading of good packaging material. And as you already know, the inspection unit level 4 is a single plant. So let's go to repest to have different simulations. So please, I will share my screen now. Okay, we will run in this webinar different simulations. The first one, well, I assume that you are already familiar with the repest tool. So the first step is to decide which type of survey we will carry out. In this example, the detection survey, and then we can define this repest tool guide from the whole process, from the initiation, preparation, design, implementation, and conclusion. In the initiation phase, we need to collect general information on the pest. So first, the goal of our survey, we can choose different options, but in this case, we want to comply with regulatory requirements. So the next step is the pest. So we have to define the pest of our interest from the list. Obviously, in our case, Anoplophora glabripennis. What is the status of the pest in your target population is absent. We are performing a detection survey. Was the survey conducted for the same pest and target population? If yes, we have to select that year. So it's a priority pest. So we should perform another detection survey last year. And obviously, the type of survey should be detection survey because this pest is not known to occur in our territory. Then we go still in the initiation phase, the survey area and the host plants. The country, so the survey area is this invented country, the Surveyland, that is in the middle of Africa, Asia, and Australia. So, and then we will focus in the whole area. So we will focus on the whole country, including all NATS1 levels. For the host, we, as was discussed, we will focus on Acer, but include all the other genera that very nicely Alessandro explained that are also important for our detection survey. So we don't have a save file with the host plant distribution, but this is not relevant because this will be used not for the calculation, only for the reporting. So then we move to the preparation phase, and then we have additional information. We have to characterize the pest. We can also upload a save file with environmental suitability for the pest, but it's also optional. So we only will use this for the reporting, but not for the calculations. Then, still in the preparation phase, we have to define the target population. You already know that the inspection units are a single plant. Then we have to define these inspection units. So the population size could be considered infinite if we don't know the size of our target population, but in our case, we know the size of our target population, so can not be considered infinite. So then the EP units already discussed, we will use the two epidemiological units, urban areas and natural areas. But to use these EP units, we should know the proportion, the number of inspection units that belongs to urban or natural areas that was described in a previous slide. In this first simulation, we will not use risk factors, but then we have to characterize our survey sites. So we will focus in the survey in orchards or vineyards, forestries, private gardens, or public sites. In the particular case, not in vineyards, but are the classes that are available in the regulation. The survey period is also available in the database, so you can select, or we can proceed with our survey from May till September is the optimum time for detecting the pest. For the detection and identification method, we will use one method that is the visual examination, as already described by Alessandro as a good option for detecting the pest. And we will use signs of the pest in the potentially affected trees. And we will look for signs in the trunk, the main branches, exit holes on those areas of the trees, position pits, frass, etc. So different signs that can help us to detect the pest in the field. For the lab analysis, we will collect the branches of the tree. The trunk can, in some cases, can be also relevant, and the pest itself if it's present in the territory. And as already explained by Alessandro, the sampling effectiveness is estimated in 55.3%. Then this is optional. We can describe the different procedures we are going to use in the laboratory to analyze the pest. And for laboratory detection method, already explained, we will use morphological method. At level 2, the microscopic examination of the individuals and by light microscopy. And is defined for this pest that the diagnostic sensitivity for the full laboratory procedure is 90%. So then we can continue, and then we are in the design phase. So as discussed, we will use the standard values for the confidence level, 95%, and 1% for the design prevalence. And then this is the more interesting part. We simulate, and then we get the theoretical sample size. So in both cases, for both EP units, we have to sample around 300 trees, achieving a confidence level for each of the two EP units of about 78%. But if we continue, the overall confidence level is 95%, although at EP units is this 78. Then we can continue, and then we have the option to allocate the samples. Not in this case. We will see later an example in which we will reallocate the samples, and then we move to the implementation phase. So we have also the option to include the geographic coordinate of the inspection unit we selected for the sampling, but we will not do in this case, and then we can finish the survey. So for the conclusion, we should indicate if the pest was found during the survey. No, fortunately, we could not detect Anoplophora glabripennis in this survey. And after taking all the samples we should, all were negative, no undetermined samples. Therefore, we can recalculate, but we'll achieve this 78% for each EP unit confidence level, but as I mentioned, a global 95% for the survey with this design prevalence. And then we have the option to download a report, full report with all the information we have included in the survey design, but also very interestingly, because many of the participants and the attendants are from national or regional NPPO, you can download the report that you have to present in Eurofit. So all the information will be prepared for this, for submitting this report. Yeah, but this is a simple case. So no risk factors, but we will complicate a bit, and then we will consider risk factors as we are dealing with statistically sound and risk-based surveys. So then, as was discussed, so all the previous information is exactly the same as in the previous case, but in this case, we will use risk factor. And the risk factor will depend on the spread capacity. So we can label this risk factor input points, but this is free text. But this came from the database. So For this particular pest, the risk activity, as already discussed, is the import, storage, and trading of good packaging material, that the risk location are handling this material, and as explained previously in the slide, the risk areas are risk level of 2 that represent 75.4 hectares in a band from 100 to 500 meters from the risk location, an area risk level 3 that is 3.14% hectare band, a radius of 100 meters from the risk location that are used in the simulation. The rest of the information is the same as before, so we can continue, and then we go to the design phase. We can continue the same parameters, the same values for the confidence level and the design prevalence, but now we have this table. In this table, we have to include, for the 3 levels we are considering for risk, high, medium, and base, the relative risk that we can get from the database, and, but important, the percentage of its epidemiological units belonging to each of the 3 risk levels. We know these values, 0.01, 0.3, and the rest till 100, 99.67, and then we can proceed with the simulation. Then we get the sample size, a sample size for each risk level and epi unit. That is, as we are dealing with a very high population size, we have the same values for both cases, 13, 21, and 102 for the high, medium, and baseline risk level, respectively, and achieving a theoretical confidence level of about 40% in all cases. But as before, we have a global conclusion for the design of 95% and for this 1% design prevalence, with these sample sizes all being sampled and all negative without any undetermined samples. So, but we have more options. So if we go to the previous page, in the design phase, here we have something that is called convenience sampling. So we can decide, using convenience sampling, how much effort we will put for the high, medium, or the baseline risk level. As we are interested in, or could be interested in detecting the pest mostly in the high-risk areas, we will sample 3 times more in the high level risk level, 2 times more in the medium compared with the baseline. And then you will see how this changes the sample size for the different combinations. And continue. And then we have this, so I have to refresh. No, something was wrong. Okay, here we have the, okay, this is, I think, a mistake in repaste. So, but here we have the new sample size according to this reallocate to the convenience sampling, and modifying the effort for each of the 3 risk levels. So now we have 27, 18, and 9 samples per high, medium, and baseline, respectively, for both natural and urban areas. Another option that we did not select it in the previous simulations is when we reallocate the samples. So once we perform this convenient sampling, we have the option to allocate the samples. So we have the allocation of the samples according to the risk level and the proportion of the population that are included in this risk level, but also we have the option to allocate the samples proportional to the host population in the AP units. Then we have reallocate or updated the sample size after considering the two AP units and the percentage of the total target population that are represented in each AP units, but also in the three different risk levels. Then we have these new sample sizes, 51, 34, 17 for the high, medium, and baseline for the natural areas, and much less for 4, 3, and 2 for the high, medium, and baseline for the urban areas. Remember that we are using convenient sampling, in which we put 3 times more effort on high risk, 2 times more effort in medium risk compared to the baseline. And then we can finish the survey, we can get, again, also, although we are modifying the sample size, we maintain the same overall confidence level. Now, if we go to a summary table, sorry. So we can see here the results. Okay, it's not possible to. I'm not sure what is happening. Okay, it's in full screen. I'm not sure. So we have the results
of screen. It's not in full screen.
So we have the summary table for the different simulations with the RIPES tool. And this is the first one we run. So without risk factor, total 600 samples, 300 for natural areas, 300 for urban areas. But then the other simulations for no using risk factors, but with no convenience sampling. So we have this total of 272 a sample size that represent 55% less samples compared with the design without risk factors. The achieved confidence level is around 40%, but the overall, again, is always 95%. The next one was the convenience sampling using risk factors. Then we remember that we put different sample effort for high, medium, and baseline. Then we have a total of 108 samples that represent 82% less samples compared with the design without risk factor. And finally, the last one, when we reallocate the samples according to AP units that has, as you know, very different sizes in terms of the number of inspection units. Then we have similar values for the total sample size, but a very different distribution. So we have across EPI units and risk levels. So we have 51, 32, 17, but 4, 3, and 2 for the urban areas compared to natural areas. And again, about 80% reduction in the total sample size. So with this, I finished my presentation. So get back to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Juan. Thank you, Alessandro, for your presentation. Now is the time to do a small quiz to test yourself and see if you've understood the webinar. So for this, we need to use Mentimeter again. Please take your device and scan the QR code that you can see in the screen, or type www.menti.com on your browser and introduce the code that you will see in the top of the slide. As you can see, the code is 38854054. So, the first question, what is the primary pathway for the introduction of Anoplophora glabripennis into Europe? Option A, untreated wood packaging material using international trade. Option B, ornamental plant trade. Option C, movement of soil and compost. And option D, importation of fruits and vegetables. I see some of you are responding already. For those that arrived late and maybe don't know how to use Mentimeter, I will repeat, you can type www.menti.com in your browser and use the code that you can see in the upper side of the slide. So most of you answered option A. Let's see what the experts say is correct at the end of the test. So second question, what are the main signs to look for on host trees during detection surveys for Anoplophora glabripennis? Option A, discolored leaves and premature leaf drop. Option B, exit holes, oviposition, pits and frass extraction. Option C, dieback only in the upper crown. Option D, resign, bleeding, and cankers. Okay, let's give you a couple seconds to answer. Most of you already answered, and most of you think is the correct answer is the option B. Let's go to the third question. Which method is considered the most effective for detecting Anoplophora glabripennis infections in a pest-free area? Option A, visual inspections. Option B, trapping. Option C, use of sniffer dogs. Option D, acoustic detection of larval feeding inside wood. Okay, I'll give you a couple seconds more to answer this third question. Okay, again, almost all of you think option A is the correct answer. Let's move on to the fourth question. What defines an epidemiological unit? Option A, a group of inspectors assigned to one region. Option B, a homogeneous area where pests, hosts, plants, and conditions interact the same way. Option C, a single plant examined for pests. Option D, a lab where samples are processed. Okay, you're fast answering. I hope you chose the correct answer. Let's see what the expert says at the end of the test. Let's move on to the last question, the fifth question. What are the two components of method sensitivity? Option A, diagnostic specificity and host density. Option B, pest biology and climate. Option C, sampling effectiveness and diagnostic sensitivity. Option D, survey area and prevalence. And almost all of you again think the correct answer is the C, sampling effectiveness and diagnostic sensitivity. So I give you the word again, Juan and Alessandro, for the correct answers. Juan and Alessandro, you can give us the correct answers and explain the test.
Please, Alessandro, maybe you can start.
Yes, the primary pathways, as I mentioned, is on treated wood packaging material used in international trade. The main signs to look for is the option B, exit holes, oviposition pits, and frost exclusion. And which method is the most effective? The method is visual inspection, the option A.
Yeah, for question 4, what define EP unit? So the correct ones, as most of the participants selected, is the option B. That is an homogeneous area where the pest, the host plants, and the conditions interact in the same way. So remember, in our example for Anoplophora glabripennis, we consider 2 EP units, the urban areas and the natural areas in which the interaction among the host plant, the climate conditions, and the pest is the same, or we assume that are the same. For question 5, what are the 2 components of the method sensitivity? Also, most of the participants selected the right one, so the option C, sampling effectiveness related to the field activity and the, related to the laboratory activity.
Thank you again. Thank you, Juan. Thank you, Alessandro, for your presentation. We are getting to the end. I want to thank you all for attending today. In case we did not manage to answer all your questions, you will find them published on the EU Academy. Please note that similar questions will be grouped where possible, and we will send specific information. The recording of today's event will be able on EFSA's official YouTube channel and in the EU Academy with subtitles in 4 different languages: English, Spanish, French, and Arabic. Next webinars of the Group 2 will be on Anaeromia bungi, and it will take place the 27th of October. And then we will have 2 more seminars of Group 5. Dates will be confirmed through the newsletters, and they will be Agrillus planipennis in November and Agrillus ansius in December. Before we leave, please take a few minutes to scan the QR code on the right side of the slide and fill in the evaluation survey. If you are unable to scan the QR code after the event, you will receive a link to access the Microsoft survey form. Your feedback is essential for us to improve our events. Thank you, everyone, for attending this webinar, and thank you once again, Juan and Alessandro, for the presentation. We have now reached the end of the session. I hope you have all learned about this pest and are now well informed about it. This is the second webinar of a round of 3, and as I mentioned in the previous slide, the next webinar is scheduled for October 27th. I hope you all can attend. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.